Now that I've started learning my 7th language, because thanks Måneskin, I regret nothing. Here's the formula to learn the foundations of the language in under just 2 weeks instead of browsing through textbooks years and years on end. And you basically have to Google this, pause the video. It's the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle of language learning. These words make 20% of the language, however, they're used 80% of the time. Just translate it into your native language, you don't have to study it, just read it. And now that you've got them, start with the TV shows. Pom!
Here are the first things you should learn when you start learning a language. I'm talking day one. Here is a list of verbs that I think are the most useful verbs to learn when you're first learning a language. Most languages also have a conjugation system that you'll also want to learn for each of these verbs. It comes down to tenses, just focus on the present tense when you get started. Next, learn these 5 phrases in your target language. Excuse me, can you help me? I would like. There is, I'm sorry, I don't speak blank, or I don't understand. Lastly, how do you say X? My biggest piece of advice is think about it being in a place where you don't speak the language and what you'll need to say to survive. Conversation comes later. Personally, I don't even bother with introductions until a bit later because I know I'm not going to get to use that until I can actually converse. When learning vocabulary, learn vocabulary that you'll actually need to use. There is no reason why you need to learn how to say the word shoe on your first day, but like bathroom, train station, very important. Hope this helps and like for part 2. Hi, welcome back. This is a part 2 to what you should learn when you're first starting to learn a language. After learning and mastering what we learned in part 1, you want to start learning location words. Location words are like left, right, straight, down the street. To practice, you want to insert them into sentences like so. Next, you want to learn formalities. Formalities are things such as excuse me, please, thank you, hi, good day, so on. To tie in part 1, you want to learn at least 1 sentence with each of the verbs that you learned. Do not make it complicated. This is an opportunity to just learn new vocabulary and to actually learn by doing instead of with a book. For example, I help my mother. I want dinner. I go to the market on Sunday. Very simple. Next, you want to start thinking about subjects that are important for you to talk about. For example, I like talking about languages, so helpful vocabulary for me would be to learn, to read, to travel, names of countries and languages, be other vocab like book, grammar, vocabulary, so on. Tailor your language experience to what you want to talk about. You will learn along the way how to talk about other things, of course. When you first start out, don't waste your time learning about things that you're probably not going to use.
Here's a hack for those of you who are learning or want to learn French, Spanish, or Italian. You have to download this Chrome extension called Fluent. You can find it on the Chrome Web Store and add it to Chrome, but I already have. Once it's downloaded, you have to pin it like this. Now this right here is the deck with all the new words that you've learned, and it sets goals for you. So when you're reading anything online, it'll highlight words for you to learn. And when you hover your mouse over the word, you basically discovered it, and it adds it to your deck in familiar words. And then if you ever see the word again somewhere else, you'll see it with a blue dot. And this time it actually tests you. And the next time you see it, it'll be in English, and it will test you again. And to really make sure that you have it in your head, it'll test you one more time with a green dot beside it. And this time you have to type the word. And now I've completed this word and I could see my progress right here. And if you have to focus on something else, you can easily turn it off. It's so cool. Try it out and don't forget to follow for more tips.
We're talking about how to learn a language if you're an auditory learner. If you don't know what kind of learner you are, you can take a quiz here. Number 1 is music, whether it be through memorizing lyrics or through translating them. When I translate, I do the lyric, the direct translation, and then the actual meaning. So that way I can get a little grammar practice too. Number 2 is through podcasts. Podcasts are great because you can kind of just have them going in the background while you do other things like drinking coffee, playing with your dog, I don't know, doing laundry. Super easy way to immerse yourself. Number 3 is speaking aloud to yourself whenever you can. I just do these like monologues where I talk to my dog. He's a polyglot too, hee hee. Or you can call a friend who speaks the language. Last but not least, you can use apps. I've talked about Lingodeer before, but I really think they're great. The Listen and Learn feature is great for auditory learners. The audio is super clear and they do a good job of showing languages in a conversational way. There's a good selection of languages with this feature, and as a native Japanese speaker, I have to say this is one of the apps that does Japanese really well. Even I learn new things on here. There's also a good range of conversation topics to choose from.
This is my most favorite trick to learn languages. Nobody really talks about it, but I guess it works after 6 languages. It's still counting. It's also known as the Disney Lover method. Named it. You gotta watch Disney TV shows with people, not animation, in the language that you want to learn with the subtitles of the language that you want to learn. No other subtitles. This is practically brainwashing. They're overacting. I'm sorry, Disney, I love you. They're overacting so much. They're like, I love you. Like, you will understand everything by the context, and it just brainwashes you into understanding the language. Easy, effortless, and fast.
Sure, so first you want to go to the Chrome Web Store, and then once you have the extension, you can click it up here on the top right, and then you need to create an account. I believe it's $4.99 a month, which really isn't that bad if you're like me and get a ton of use out of it. I would recommend you first test it out by going to a Netflix series that's in your target language. Once you've found something that looks interesting, go to Settings, and then click the audio and subtitle language to your target language, and then the translation language to your native language. And you can choose whether to turn on or off the machine and human translations. The machine translation gives a very literal translation on the subtitle, whereas the human translation is a more accurate but not quite as literal translation. Then you'll see this list, and it'll all be like neutral colored. The numbers on the left side indicate how frequent these words are. So these are in the top 100 most common Portuguese words. So if you're just at the beginning, then you want to click on this level. But if you're at a higher intermediate level like I am, then you want to click somewhere around here where you know these words, and then these red ones are like just like you've seen them before, but you don't really know exactly what they mean. Because the red ones are the ones that you want to learn. And they're also the most needed ones because they're the next most popular words that you should know. And now you can see that this word is a word that I should learn that's, at my target level of difficulty. And so the key is to really just focus on listening and reading a lot rather than getting hung up on every single word. And amazingly, it also works on YouTube. So let's pull up a video. I like this YouTuber, Portuguese with Leo. And you can also use this for YouTube. If you click on words, you can see the list of most common words. So when you go back into the settings and select your, what the level that you're currently at, this is a good idea to go here first and get a sense of what your difficulty is at. And I've just forgot to update a lot of these. I know what they all mean now, but I'm just lazy. Another way you can get really creative is by highlighting them with different colors for different parts of speech. So for words you don't know that are adjectives, you can use the green, you can use yellow for noun, red for verb, and blue for adverb. And the last feature I'll show is sentences. So if there's a sentence that you would like to know, then you can star it and it'll go into a database. Follow for part 2 so I can explain more.
I'm a polyglot, and I tried 6 different language learning apps for 1 week to see which one I learned the most from, so let's go. Duolingo is very rewarding and interactive. It gives you points, so it keeps you motivated. In Rosetta Stone, I found it highly organized, and it was very good for vocab. The Babbel was so interactive, and it's great for short bursts of learning, and I like that Busu was very conversation-based. Lingodeer has so many different types of activities, and I found it really fun. Memorize, it was great for the spaced repetition method. I found Duolingo to be more accessible than Rosetta Stone because Rosetta Stone is expensive, and Duolingo was more fun. Babbel had a bunch of cute little activities that I enjoyed doing, and Busu was a little bit more classroom style, which I know is not for everybody. I chose Lingodeer over Memrise because Lingodeer addresses every single type of learning style that I could fathom. Where Duolingo falls short is that it doesn't go into depth about anything, and it doesn't really explain grammar. So between Babbel and Lingodeer was my favorite. I found it to be great for both beginners and upper level learners. There's tons of different types of activities, so you definitely won't get bored. It covers all levels of fluency: reading, writing, listening, speaking. Overall, I really enjoyed the app, and I had a lot of fun. I kind of took everything that I liked about the other apps and just put it into one app, so